Where in the world can you find the Eiffel Tower just a few miles away from the Trevi Fountain? Yeah, you guessed it, Las Vegas. The city is famous for devouring 60,000 pounds of shrimp a day and hosting around 150 weddings every 24 hours. But here's the plot twist: there's a hidden world lying right beneath the neon lights. Welcome to Vegas number 2. It's not the spectacle you're used to, but it's every bit as fascinating. I'm talking about a sprawling network of tunnels over 600 m long, crisscrossing beneath the city, built to divert pretty intense floods. You heard it correctly, floods. Vegas is an artificial city built in the middle of the Mojave Desert, where the average summer temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. With this heat, it doesn't come as a surprise that water is scarce there. Vegas has very limited local water sources, so 90% of their water comes from the Colorado River. The rain and snow melt from the Rocky Mountains is piped to Vegas over 100 miles away. Water is such a precious resource that homeowners living in the city's suburbs are fined if they overuse their water quota by, let's say, watering their lawns. And still, urban planners needed to come up with a gigantic system to stop floods. Vegas has really come a long way since its modest beginnings. A desert is rarely a place developers look at and say, let's build a megatown here, but southern Nevada was a place full of gold, silver, and other types of, or it was located between Los Angeles and Silver Lake City, which at the turn of the last century were pretty promising markets. There was only one thing missing: water. Developers already expected that if water could be found in the region, then the Vegas Valley would be fertile and rich. They did find a solution for artisan water, but then they had another applause problem. The thing about deserts is that when it rains, it pours. The region tends to get 4 in of rainfall per year, but it rains 3 in a few hours, and there you have it, chaos. Oh my God, the hard soil can't absorb all the water, so the city needed to build another underground city to handle it. Nowadays, Las Vegas is one of the most visited cities in the United States, ranking spot number 6. It receives around 30 million visitors annually, plus it's the entertainment capital of the world. So yes, authorities needed to figure out a way to prevent chaos from taking over every time it music ranked. It wasn't always like this. The worst flood in Vegas history happened in the 90s. A huge storm hit the city, flooding it, displacing more than 300 people and racking up nearly $20 million in damages. It all went down during the monsoon season, which is notorious for heavy rainfall. The Las Vegas Valley is nestled between mountains on 3 sides, kind of like a giant bowl, which means it collects rainwater from every direction. After the 1990 flood, authorities took matters into their own hands and started to build the infrastructure we're talking about now. These tunnels are tough enough to handle whatever the desert throws their way. Las Vegas is definitely one of the wildest cities on the planet and is famous for being one of the brightest spots on Earth. Back in 2010, NASA published an image taken by astronauts on the International Space Station of Las Vegas. The crew was blown away by how clearly those bright lights stood out. In fact, Vegas shines even brighter than densely populated places like Hong Kong and Japan. Although the city is all that bright on the surface, this is not the rule for the network of tunnels we're talking about for hundreds of people. These tunnels are home. Some have even lived there for a decade or more. There are entrances to the tunnels all over town. They run under resorts such as Caesar's Palace, the Rio, the Flamingo, and so on. Some tunnels are only 4 or 5 foot tall, but there are 15 feet long. Tunnel damp and dark. Of course, today they don't just prevent flooding, they're home to vibrant communities. This is Paolo. He's one of the most famous characters when it comes to the maze underground Vegas. He lived in the tunnels for 3 years now. He goes back there regularly whenever someone needs help getting out. In his first month in the tunnels, Paul was taken under the wing of a group of veterans. He quickly figured out that this Mazik city had its own set of social rules he needed to respect, break them, and you could find yourself out on the street. Literally, each tunnel has its own customs, rituals, and a few unofficial leaders who run the show. When newcomers arrive, they usually claim the bed at the entrance of a tunnel. Their job is to keep watch and report any suspicious sounds. If they step out of line, they might wake up to find their belongings mysteriously vanished. Life in the Maze City has its fair share of quirks that resemble life up above. Some people bring along chairs, beds, tables, and even barbecue grills, basically whatever they can scavenge from curbs and dumpsters to spruce up their new digs. There's just one catch: the tunnels tend to soak up flood water, so they need to elevate their stuff a few inches off the ground. That's why you'll see beds and bookcases perched on makeshift stilt, keeping everything safe from rising waters. When the locals sense rain on the way, they scramble to gather anything they want to protect and haul it to the tunnel exits. There's no fresh water down there at all, and the only electricity comes from batteries. That's today's mission for Paul. He's going around handing out water, food, and flashlights to anyone who needs them. On top of that, he's letting folks know he's here to help those looking for a way out of the tunnels but feeling stuck. You know what? Crazy. The name Las Vegas actually comes from the Spanish word the meadows, but it's a desert now, isn't it? Well, in prehistoric times, Las Vegas was actually damp and green. The Las Vegas Springs were once located above ground, which created this green area. With time, the marsh eventually went underground and The valley turned into the barren land it is today. If you're soaking up some Nevada sun at Caesar's Palace, you'd never tell that there's a vibrant community living right under this famous hotel. Urban explorer Drew Binsky took a day to explore these cryptic tunnels. He was guided by Paul, since it's dangerous to go down there solo if you don't know anybody. It's pitch dark down there, and most residents don't know if it's day and night. It's pretty easy to lose track of time. Today, Paul is the executive director of Sheena, a non-profit outreach program. His role today is to help the people who live in the tunnels. The nonprofit helps people to live better lives either down there or up here if they choose to leave the tunnels and begin a new life. Paul helps them with job training and shows the way on how to restart a life. It's not only humans that live in the tunnels, though they've become a habitat of sorts. Birds have set up their places to live there. Wild vegetation peeks through the cracks, and even a few adventurous goldfish have found their way upstream from outer water sources. These tunnels are also home to some of the most unique graffiti galleries in the United States. These artists tend to paint close to the entrances since that's where they get more sunlight. You'll see an array of art over there, from mindless scrolls or thoughtless tags to pretty refined works with solid, clean lines, a visible thought process, and styles that mimic those of painters George Braque or Fernand Lou. Who knew Las Vegas had so much more to offer than already meets the eye? That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends, or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.